Hello and welcome to the Casual Shenanigans Gaming Podcast, a podcast all about DayZ, Battlefield, and everything PC gaming related. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah, also known as JERMgaming, and this evening I am joined by my co-host, Dave.
What's up, guys? I am Dave, the not so evil Viking 13, and I am so cold right now.
Why are you cold?
My office is currently 63 degrees. Thank you, winter coldness.
And I'm also joined by Joel.
What up?
And Chris.
I don't have a very long tagline.
Hello?
Like Dave.
Oh, yeah, I was anticipating yours being short, so I'd already skipped over you. And Chris's trademarked hello, and then friend of the show, James.
Hello, I'm James. I'm actually warm in my house because I pay my heating bill.
I'm very toasty warm because I'm using gas heat, so I can pretty much set any heat I want, and it's luxurious and toasty. So
I hate you all.
Yeah, but I also live in a camper, so you know there's trade-offs.
I live in an unfinished house.
Mine's finished, but it's not really a house. Anyway, moving on.
Isn't an unfinished house could just be called just a tent? It's not
just
finished.
one level above tent. It's like a fancy tent.
All right, so on our topics for this week, first thing we're going to talk about is DayZ news. Of course, the DayZ standalone has not released, and the closed beta test has not started, and none of us are in the closed beta as of yet, so none of that has changed. But there is new news about DayZ, so as usual, we'll consult our resident DayZ expert, Dave. Dave, go ahead.
I have like a degree in DayZ at this point, I swear.
Pretty much.
I'm pretty sure the F5 key on my keyboard is just about worn out, too. Alright, so DayZ news for the week. Oh, cool. Thanks, Firefox. Let's go ahead and close my Twitter window. That's cool, too. So there's no official blog update since last time. We are getting one tomorrow, which is supposed to have a whole bunch of screenshots, and that's pretty exciting.
Actually, we should say, hold on, let me cut in. When you say tomorrow, by the time you hear this, it's probably going up, because the podcast goes up online on Fridays, and then we'll most likely be releasing it on YouTube on Mondays. Just so the blog post might already be out. But we're recording this on the 24th. So at the 24th, we're expecting a blog post tomorrow, unless Rocket goes home for Christmas.
In which case, see you guys in April. There's been a lot of stuff he's been posting on Twitter, which is kind of neat to see him like really excited about the project again. It seems like after all that, you know, drudgery with getting all the back end stuff set up last year, they're finally getting into all the fun stuff. So there's all kinds of cool stuff on Twitter. And people have been like actually pulling stuff out of screenshots too. You know, your usual internet detectives. People have figured out that in one cool screenshot of a wow, what is that word? Crash plane. That someone he actually posted the last blog update. Someone noticed that it has the Arma 3 cloud system, like actual volumetric clouds in the background in the skybox. Minor, but exciting.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that a groundbreaking feature or cool?
That's the peak of DirectX 10 technology right there.
You'll be able to see the clouds when it's dark as pitch black.
Yeah, all I care about clouds
soul.
is clouds are what cover the sun when you're trying to navigate.
Perfect.
We can get rid of clouds. Maybe we should just get rid of them all. Let the sun shine.
Joel brought up lighting, and Rocket actually tweeted 4 hours ago. This is a direct quote here. Today, Mario, one of our lead artists, has committed the lighting changes. Beautiful. Pics tomorrow with Tumblr post. So hopefully that'll help with the horrific end of days pitch black darkness. The lighting engine is pretty good, but it needs some help at night.
I don't want so much of a change in that. I mean, at night it's a little dark, but a little more moonlight would be cool. But I'm more excited for like inside buildings having just less dynamic range.
Yeah.
Right now there's so much dynamic range. It's kind of like an unmodded version of Skyrim where you can see everything all the time, and like there's not really deep, harsh shadows or anything. So
yeah, interior lighting was just not great.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing what they're doing with that.
Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Bug of the week. Apparently on Monday, when they committed a change with the inventory system to test out the clothing, the hat clothing space attached to the buttocks. So apparently that was a bug all week, and there was much hilarity rolling around with that one.
Or maybe that was the joke. It's not a bug. That's a final feature.
Rocket seemed to be pretty sad when they actually fixed that.
Shove hat up butt of enemy bandit.
So,
Got a hat on my
is there
butt.
any other significant news, or is that like the bottom of the barrel there?
Yeah, I'm kind of working backwards down his Twitter feed here, digging through all the thousands of replies. So it's kind of the kind of, you know, not super interesting stuff first here. More interesting things. New spawning system. You guys remember how in the mod, you could actually kind of like play the system when you're approaching towns and stuff and say, oh, there's zombies already in this town. That means someone's nearby spawning them, right?
Right.
Spawn system is now turned over to the server. So loot and zombies are controlled by the server and are tracked constantly at all times, no matter where the players are.
So
that means there will be zombies there as soon as you come to the town, no matter what?
Yeah, that's what it's sounding like. Loot, at least confirmed for sure, will be already there, like spawned in, already selected by the server by the time you get to a town. So that means that zombies should work the same way.
does that mean, will it still be if you're in a vehicle, like it'll still count, you can roll up and loot, or will you have to wait like you normally do?
I can't say definitively, but that's what it sounds like, yeah.
Okay, that would be really nice. That would make raiding a lot more fun if you could just roll up, hop out, grab stuff, hop back in, and roll off.
Yeah.
You gotta wait till it like pops in.
Well, yeah, exactly. You have to like roll up, you know, all stealthy, and then just hop out and sit for a couple minutes waiting for loot to show up.
It's weird.
Totally unrealistic.
It's like gambling, just like waiting to see what will pop up, and it's like, ah, cans of beans.
Empty cans, crap. And related to that, the actual tweet was, the Great DayZ Beans Hunt spawned 150,000 cans of beans on Chernarus to profile the new system. Only 3 FPS lost. So it sounds like that's going to be part of the new loot system, where instead of just having piles of loot in the middle of the floor, you'll actually have to look through drawers and stuff and find like smaller bits of loot individually.
Yeah, I wonder if that will speed up the process that it's not viewable yet. Like, it'd be interesting. You know how like Borderlands, when you actually open up a loot box thing, it's actually aggravating the loot right there. Because sometimes if you don't have any shotgun ammo, it's probably going to spawn some shotgun ammo for you.
Yeah,
It'd
holds
be kind
down
of cool
a little bit.
if it works like that. So when you're opening the drawer or closet or whatever, if it's not already on the floor or something, that'd be cool. If it's just pings the server and says, "Is there something here?" Yes, then it spawns it, rather than having to track it constantly. I don't know. Maybe that'll be a speed boost.
I think the database is tracked. It may not render it until you like open the object, but that the server will already know what's supposed to be there. Like by the time you get to the area, like it'll always know what's there.
Just hope it doesn't start doing
head.
Why would that be in the drawer?
You could kill a bandit, sever his head, and put it back in there. It's like, surprise!
This is Joel's house. Speaking of,
Jeez, that got dark so quickly. But then again, yeah, this is Joel.
I mean, I guess you could do that, but
Hey,
given that it's DayZ, I want an option to eat the head.
Not
You know,
like
they did add cannibalism in DayZ 2017, and it's pretty freaky.
Was it 17 years after the apocalypse? People were like, "All right, it's time to eat people."
Pretty much. No more beans. Oh, speaking of beans, now I got some really depressing DayZ news for you guys. Like I really hate to crush your hopes and dreams, but Coke, Pepsi, and Heinz will not be supporting DayZ standalone.
I saw that. Oh well.
I know you guys are really excited about that, but
Do they have any brands registered? Committed?
I'm hoping that Rocket makes up like kind of like spin-off brands, like
Pulls a GTA.
yeah.
It's probably gonna be like Rocket Pop.
That would make
everybody
sense.
everybody loves Dr. Perky.
It's Sprunk Cola.
Is it bad that probably even Dr. Thunder would be like, nah, we don't want to be a part of this. There's cannibalism involved.
Well,
We're
is
generic,
cannibalism
but-
guaranteed, or is it just kind of hinted at?
It sounds like that by the end of the year, like by the time we get to a 1.0 release, he wants to have something like cannibalism in place.
Something
Did they-
like cannibalism. What else is like cannibalism? I mean, it's not pure cannibalism.
Eating a small finger.
You can't kill them. You just keep them like a pet, and you harvest limbs and eat those. But it's not like pure cannibalism.
I'm just gonna taste. I won't actually eat.
I don't need the legs.
I think it was more implied that like he wants to do more stuff that like normally you couldn't get away with in like a retail boxed game that's going to be sold on the shelves at Walmart, where they're like, oh no, we don't want to be associated with that.
That's true. And actually, since he's releasing it through Steam, does Steam mandate that you have ratings on games when they're released?
The last word that I heard from Rocket through like a Reddit question and answer thing was it's going to be 100% unrated on Steam.
Good. Because
So
I could see there being a
brutality.
lot of controversy over. I mean, I'm not saying good because I want like the most extreme game experience, but good so that they're not having to censor their vision for the game.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, they are showing some restraint. It's not like they're kids running around getting eaten by zombies or stuff like that. But
Or eaten by Joel.
Hey, well,
yet.
To tag on that, Rocket said, didn't Rocket say, Dave, earlier? It was like months and months ago that he was actually talking about if you could actually have a kid in the game.
I had heard that. There's been so many questions he's answered.
You would probably die in that game, which would be horrible.
If you have a kid, just to carry an extra pack for you. To carry your backup.
Raise them up to be a loot hunter.
They have to run behind you. They're like in Skyrim. They're there to bear your burdens
Where
until
would the
they
kids
die.
come from? Did I miss news that there's actually procreation?
Oh no!
I guess.
It's getting a little too meta at this point. I don't think anyone's gonna live long enough to like
don't
meet
loot
and get
in that
married.
tent, guys.
Yeah. Real-time persistent world. You got to check in on your.
Just imagine a scenario where it's like the road where you have to like save one bullet for your kid, like to kill them before you kill yourself, and the bandits show up.
This is getting
Spoiler
nervous,
alert.
Bandits. The new thing
yeah,
is going to be
sorry,
take
spoiler
and
alert
raise
for the
somebody
road.
else's kid.
That's
Send
not a
him back
spoiler.
at
That's in
him.
the trailer.
Well, is it?
Yeah, the fact that he has like a few bullets left and it's just him and his kid.
Oh, I don't think I ever watched the trailer. I just watched the movie.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
well,
though.
it's kind of the whole premise of the movie is.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, so is that all the major news, or do we have anything else?
I saved the best for last, and I think we're all going to be excited about this one. The reason that closed testing has not started yet was apparently with the other stuff they were working on, it was going so well, Rocket decided to go ahead and go for broke, and they're redoing this week zombie animation and pathfinding before the closed testing.
Man.
So that's exciting.
So maybe the zombies will actually have pathfinding that's better than run perfectly straight, take
It's
90
not
degrees
that much
to the
to
left.
redo.
Yeah. It's like they're running on a chessboard right now.
From what I understand, it's essentially the original Operation Flashpoint like flanking AI, but sped up like 30 times. So he's like, charge flank, charge flank, charge flank. Just over and over.
I'm just looking forward to seeing how zombies running indoors is going to change the dynamic of the game. Because now, like, we all kind of abuse that system. We kite zombies indoors just to get a moment to bandage or something. But when you can't do that, it's going to be like Left 4 Dead, where they won't stop coming and you're panicking.
Yeah.
I'll be finding
It's gonna really
pills to
change
kite
the
him off
game.
of again.
Yeah, I think that's the really big challenge of creating the zombies so that they're fun and dangerous, but not dangerous and annoying. Because right now they're absolutely annoying, like absolutely annoying. They're not.
Yeah.
It's not even fun to even run through a city because it's like it's boring, and you never shoot them. Like it's fun. It's like a zombie game where you never get to shoot zombies because there's no need. You can just run past them, or you know you're gonna waste ammo on it, and you know you can just run around. It'd be more fun to be able to actually get caught by them and actually really have to shoot your way out.
Yeah.
So,
I would
hopefully
also...
when he adds the physics, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like, I know Left 4 Dead is very arcadey, and I know they probably don't want to go purely in that direction, but I'm hoping for a little more Left 4 Dead-like zombie behavior, because that, like, that's, I don't want to say the most realistic, because zombies aren't realistic, but you know what I mean. That's the most fun, realistic zombie experience.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
And I know DayZ is primarily supposed to be punishing, not fun, but it'd be nice if it was, if they
Well, you
added
could
some
still be
funness on
punishing.
top
I
of
mean,
it.
Left 4 Dead, you had a zillion guns, and tons of bullets.
tons of
this
health.
one you don't. Yeah, tons of health.
That's
too.
true.
So
That's
this
true.
one, I mean, having those kind of zombies in this would be awesome.
I would love that. I really would. Like the climbing the fences and the way that like they run with like the weight into their body, like they like lean into curves, and feels really good in Left 4 Dead. I like it a lot.
All right, so if that's
That
all
has
the
been
major...
Dave talking about DayZ.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's good. I mean, I'm looking forward to when we can talk about our experiences in DayZ and not just, did anything happen on Twitter this week? Nope. Cool.
I just have to check one thing. Dave, are you broadcasting from your shrine in your closet that has the, rocket idol? Got
Look,
candles lit?
My religious preferences are none of your business, okay? If I want to worship Lord Rocket and his second coming of DayZ, then I will. All hail the second coming.
No
of
one's setting themselves up for massive disappointment. No, not here. All right.
Dave's just going to drop off the map.
So being PC gamers, half the fun of being a PC gamer is trying to upgrade your rig as much as humanly possible to stay on top of everything, or wanting to upgrade your rig, or just looking at fancy new video cards and drooling. If you're like most of us, I guess I don't know about James or Joel's upgrading habits, but I know the rest of us, we kind of like to stay a little bit on the front end of the upgrade curve. We don't like compromising our graphic fidelity. Chris, I remember, has several times has quit playing games just because he couldn't run the graphics all the way up or the graphics sucked.
Good man, Chris. Good man.
Depends on the game. But yeah.
So, new parts coming out is a big deal, and Intel has new processors coming out this year. They are nicknamed Haswell, or they're codenamed Haswell, and I was kind of excited to see what they were going to be all about because I have an AMD Phenom X6 that I bought right before Sandy Bridge was released. So I spent $300 for a processor that is maybe 2/3 as fast as a 2500K, which cost much less money when it came out. So I've been kicking myself.
You paid $300 for a CPU?
Well, at the time it was very cutting edge.
So did I.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
like
gosh.
that's mid-range.
Yours is the hexacore, right?
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
It's a hexacore, but the only advantages I get from that are in rendering, and then still the per core Sandy Bridge is faster, so it doesn't really matter.
Yep. Especially if you can get the 35. Get the hyper-threading and get 8 cores.
So, I was excited about Haswell, but I'm not as excited now because it looks like, according to the latest news that's come out, that it's not actually going to be a whole lot faster processor-wise. It's not going to be much faster than Ivy Bridge. Although, being that it's Intel, even though it's the same size and it's based on the same 22 nanometer silicon, they're coming out with a new socket because...
New socket!
Yeah, Intel has to do that every time they change anything. Whereas AMD, they're using the same sockets for, 10 years now? Probably because their performance hasn't really improved in that time. But they they've been getting away with incredible backwards compatibility, and Intel doesn't even bother. Like, they've gone through probably 5 sockets in 5 years, and they'll run 2 simultaneously, then they'll ditch another one. So this is going to be the LGA 1150 socket. But the big improvement is going to be the integrated graphics. Now, Ivy Bridge has the HD 4000 series graphics, which is actually the first time that integrated CPU graphics are decent. The HD 4000 is pretty comparable to an 8800 GT NVIDIA, which is actually, that's a pretty decent card. Chris, that was the first card you had in your desktop, and you were able to run Crysis all the way up? Was it all the way up, or was it medium?
The first one all the way up, it was at a smaller resolution.
Okay.
And it was only at 30 frames a second, but hey, close enough.
Well, so still, that's a perfectly respectable card, the 8800 GT. I mean, it's still decent, and so the HD 4000 is very comparable to it. So you can play most modern games on probably their lowest settings, but you can still play them on HD 4000 graphics. And this new integrated graphics chip is supposed to be somewhere near double the performance of the HD 4000. Which, why this is significant, is that would mean that PC gaming has a chance to become a lot more accessible at a much lower price for the average consumer. Because to us, our computers, I guess if we bought them all at one time, we've all kind of pieced them together. But if we bought our current rigs at one time, I don't know how much you guys' would be cost, but mine would cost probably somewhere around $1,100. I mean, I'm sure the rest of you are somewhere in that range, just if I bought every piece right now. But with this, you could get awesome performance conceivably for $300 or $400 if you're willing to skimp on some of the other parts, and that's only significant really because that makes it very comparable to next gen consoles which are coming out soon. So what do you guys think about, have any of you played with HD 4000 graphics at all, or HD 3000?
I haven't, no.
I actually did a test this week. I have a 2500K in my computer at work, and it has HD 2500 in it. So not nearly as good as HD 4000, but still somewhat decent. And I installed Battlefield 3, and running at 1080p on the ultra lowest settings, I'm getting 45 frames per second. And but on the ultra low settings, Battlefield 3 still looks really good at 1080. Yeah. It looks easily better than it does on a console.
No, it doesn't. Have you played it on a console?
I have.
Okay, the Xbox 360, it looks pretty good.
No, it does look good, I'm saying, but
it looks way better than the low. I mean, it's not 1080p, but
Battlefield 3, I will agree to disagree with you, but I think Battlefield 3. I think it's the resolution that makes it look better on the PC. It doesn't
it's
have
gonna
all the
look
particle
sharper.
effects.
Yeah, of course.
But the
Actually, Joel, the developers of DICE actually did say that the Xbox 360 settings are like compared to PC, it is actually lower than low.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I didn't. Hey, you spent what, $1,100 on that? So, or however much you spent.
Don't
How much
argue with
how
my
much is that card?
facts.
How much was that card?
Well, no. This is the
This was
this is the
integrated.
processor. This is the integrated
integrated one,
graphics
right?
on the processor. That was my point. You can buy this processor for $200 roundabout, depending on if it's on sale.
Yeah.
And it can be overclocked very easily. It's overclocked right now to 4.4 gigahertz.
When did this thing come out? Did
the
it come out in
25
2005?
No, we're gonna get to that
Oh, it
later,
didn't
Joel.
come out in
We're gonna get to that later. Don't worry. I will give you a lot of time to talk about that. Don't
Save all your cannon fodder.
But this is significant because, again, with like rumors of the Steam box and everything, PC gaming has an opportunity to trend back towards being a lot more accessible. Because like these Haswell processors, these are going to end up in ordinary desktops. The problem now is if you want to get a desktop you can do gaming on, you pretty much either you have to buy some $400 desktop and throw a video card into it, or you have to buy like an $1,100 pre-built desktop, or build it yourself, which we would of course recommend. But you know, there hasn't been like a really easy, turnkey, cheap consumer solution. But if these processors are going into every desktop, you know, that like Dell or HP is making, then people who are just buying their computer to do whatever, normal, you know, light photo work or something like that, they could have a gaming platform at least as powerful as a console, which I think would be really awesome. What do you guys think?
Well, I
And is
think
this-
most
is-
people that are going to do light photo work probably aren't going to buy a $400 PC.
Well,
You know,
or-
probably. But
I guess when I meant light photo work, I mean like, I don't know, media browsing, like people who don't do it professionally, people who just they're kind of slight enthusiasts, but they don't want a laptop, they want a desktop, but they don't do much heavy lifting. That's what I meant.
I don't know. I think there's the demographic for people that buy lower end PCs and people that invest and might actually want to do gaming. You know, I don't see that still hitting that demographic. I mean, when you put it in a small form factor, I think it's a great idea. But, you know, putting it in a standard desktop, I don't think it's going to all of a sudden draw, you know, a whole bunch of PC gamers.
Maybe I'll admit, I'm pretty much just speculating, but I see potential. I guess I'm just excited about the potential because integrated graphics have always been so bad.
I think the biggest potential is if that brings down prices on other better graphics cards or other system stuff.
Well, for sure, the other brands are going to have to start competing a little more. I mean, right now they're not really competing that much, but there's really no point. Like, if you have a decent mid-range processor, there's not much point in buying a graphics card under like 60 or 70 bucks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to at least compete with that. So, yeah, I mean, more competition is always good, and I'm also excited by just it being integrated. That just integrating it into the chips is just thermally better controlled for the whole system, and it's just like a lot of things about it could be really awesome. Also, mid-range laptops could now become actual gaming computers with
Now
really
that's
good battery
exciting.
life. I think that's very exciting because then their battery lives wouldn't be like an hour and a half like most gaming laptops. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
I have a MacBook Air. I love it. I can't wait until the day when they are able to stuff some really high-powered stuff. Now, I can play Borderlands 1 on it, and actually pretty good. I can play Diablo 3 at high on it, and it runs really well. But it'd be awesome to be able, I mean, like, I can't play DayZ on it. That thing will just destroy it, you know. But it would be awesome to be able to have, you know, something like my MacBook, you know, either running through the Steam on the Mac store or something like that. Being able to actually still play games, especially with the whole cloud sync coming.
Yeah.
Just being able to play some at home and then still being able to play it, you know, on your laptop anywhere, that's going to be awesome.
That would be awesome. Now, so that's new PC specs coming out. And of course, AMD and NVIDIA will be coming out with new graphics cards this coming year. So we'll see what happens with them. But very significantly, this coming year, or 2013, the year we're already in, we will most likely be seeing the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox 720, whatever they're going to be called, whether or not they have those names. But, you know, they're nicknamed, what, Durango and Orbis right now?
Yeah, it's just rough. I think it's just going to be probably... I think supposedly the Xbox is just going to be called the Xbox, kind of going how the iPad's going, where instead of doing the iPad 5, 6, 7, or iPhone, they're just calling it the Xbox. So they're probably going to call it like the new Xbox, and then it'll just become Xbox for the remainder whenever they keep doing them.
Yeah, I've
really
heard that.
confusing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But what is potentially exciting is, like Joel mentioned a couple minutes ago, the last set of consoles came out in 2005 and 2006. So back then, PCs were significantly crappier than they are now. Like, I think, Crysis didn't even exist at that point. What was the big graphical demanding game back in 2005, 2006?
Half-Life 2?
Half-Life, yeah, that's true. Half-Life 2. Far Cry.
That wasn't really a big graphical process.
Wasn't
it really was Crysis 2 and Elder Scrolls Oblivion on PC. Oblivion
In 2005?
That's true.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
true.
Wait, was Oblivion? No, Oblivion was 2006. Sorry. So yeah, 5 I think was Crysis.
No, Crysis was 2007.
Was it? Man,
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like forever ago.
No, Crysis was
Well,
2007.
I'm gonna go back out the door. See you guys.
No, I believe Half-Life 2, I remember it
Doom
being a
3,
bit of
there
a
we go.
system
Doom
hog. Oh
3.
yeah, Doom 3 was definitely a
Yeah.
system
Oh yeah,
hog.
I remember that.
So
Half-Life 2 looked really great, but it actually run on really low computers. It ran well, but Doom 3 I
Yeah.
remember being really heavy. That's probably what it was.
So, you know, the new console's coming out. You may wonder why we're talking about that on a primarily PC gaming podcast. It's significant because I would say the majority of major AAA games these days are developed for consoles and then ported to PC just because that's where the market is. And it's significant because, like, there's only so much innovation that'll happen for PC versions of games. Like, a lot of developers, they don't want to put a ton of extra work into the PC version above and beyond what the console will run, just because it doesn't really make them a whole lot more money, so it's not worth it to them, which is fine. So a lot of the time you get stuff like high-res texture packs, and they just upgrade the meshes a little bit, but you can still see, like, the limits of the game that's been designed. So new consoles have the potential to really let the PC, you know, the games could get a lot better graphically in the next couple years. Graphically and a lot of things. Just more processing power is always good. But yeah, the supposed specs for both systems are like something like anywhere between 2 and 8 gigs of RAM. I mean, a lot of this is just rumors, so take it all with a grain of salt. Something like 8-core AMD processors, and then AMD GPUs. Now, what do you guys think about the fact that both of them appear to be using AMD everything? Like, because AMD doesn't really have the performance crown, but it definitely has the cost crown for the most part. So, do you think that's the reason they're probably using that?
I think that's it. And when you have developers that are specifically developing for a console, they can utilize the multi-core processing a lot more effectively than probably a PC game that has to, hit every processor out there.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, sorry. Go ahead.
I would agree. I mean, I don't know that much about CPUs when it comes to AMD and Intel and all that stuff now. I built my first computer, I think, back in like 2003, a long time ago, and I haven't kept up with it that much when it comes to stuff. That's what I have you guys for. I asked Dave and stuff. But I would say,
help you build your last computer.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. So I'm going to say, if Intel is made the most popular right now, or whatever is the most popular right now, if developers are probably going to push towards that, they're not going to probably push towards AMD if they don't have a huge amount of CPUs out there that people are using. So you're going to do just like the way consoles is. If you're going to develop a game, develop for the biggest crowd. If it's on PS3, it's going to be on PS3. So, but if they're going to be using AMD for Xbox, they have to develop for that console, so they're going to push everything they can out of it. So I don't know anything about power, but I'm guessing if you're forced to use a certain CPU, you're going to find ways to push power out of it.
What I'm hoping to see out of this is, since they're going with multi-core processors, like they kind of did that last generation. How many processor threads was the PlayStation 3? Wasn't it the cell processor? It was at least 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know they were quad.
But it didn't really work out for them because people didn't really figure out how to, like, the processor was just hard to program for, and people really never used it to its potential. And as a result, the PS3 technically is more powerful than a 360, isn't it? But
yeah.
Typically, it runs worse on most games.
Yeah, most games that are for both systems, it's going to run better on Xbox. If it's exclusive, obviously on PS3, they're able to push the limits a lot a lot better. But for some reason, the PS3 has been a lot harder to develop for than Xbox is. So
what I'm hoping is if they all have these multi-core processors, the studios will finally have to really learn how to use multi-core correctly, and then we'll see it spill over to the PC. I'm excited about that because there are games like Grand Theft Auto 4, which came out in 2009 on the PC. I think it 2008 on consoles, 2009 PC, and it is still hard to run because it only uses one processor thread. So it doesn't matter how good my GPU is. My GPU is like idling at 20% utilization, and then one processor core is at 100% all the time. So I'm running, with a couple mods for better graphics and stuff, I'm running Grand Theft Auto 4 at like 22 frames per second, which is just pitiful. And it looks significantly better than it does stock, but still, like, that game has been out long enough. You'd think you'd be able to run it all the way up, but it's not optimized at all. And optimization is really, really key. And this is where I'm going to let Joel talk for a while. Joel has some very strong feelings about optimization in regards to consoles.
Well, okay. I have a couple pros and cons from consoles here, okay, for you. With consoles, all right, okay, Dave helped me build my last PC, right? So I'm not completely up to date with all the PCs and motherboards and all that crap, right? You guys are, and you guys appreciate them most. You guys like getting underneath the hood and doing everything you can to push the limits. That's fun. I think there's a lot of people that enjoy that. After doing my first PC, it's just like, and having a console for a while, I'm playing on both because I enjoy both. There's awesomeness to both of them. But with a console, you don't have to worry about always updating drivers. And it's not like on a console, the drivers are all rolled into one. So you can go, just like in Battlefield 3 the other day. I mean, I haven't played it for a little while, so it's like I have to update Battlefield 3. I've got to update NVIDIA drivers, and then there might be a Windows driver you got to update, and then there's a browser driver you have to update, or update to the whatever it is, the server browser thing. And on a console, you just press one button, it tells you when you have the update, and it works.
Okay, so. I've got a cut in right there. I just got a PS3 again. I got a PS3 when they first came out. I had it for quite a few years. I sold it when I moved because I wasn't really playing it anymore. And then I actually got another used one for Christmas. I got a 60 gig classic, mostly just so I can play Grand Theft Auto 5 when it comes out because I don't want to wait to see if it comes to PC. So what you're saying, I understand what you're saying in theory, but it does not work that way most of the time. I set this PS3 up. I turned it on like you did for the first time in a while. Like you hadn't used Battlefield in a while on your PC. Well, I hadn't used a PS3 in a while. So I turn it on, and I sign into my account, and then it says there's a system update available. And I say, okay. So it's, I think, a 150 meg system update. And on the same wireless that my desktop is on, at the same distance from the router, it took 45 minutes to download an 150 meg file. So it downloads it, then it installs it, and of course you can't do anything while it's doing this. You just have to let it sit there and do it. So it sat there for like over an hour downloading and installing. So then it reset. So then I wanted to go use the PlayStation Store to get a game, and the PlayStation Store had an update, which took about 25 minutes to download and update. So I finally got into the PlayStation Store. I said, okay, I'll download DC Universe Online. So I go to download DC UO. It downloads the first 140 meg little client, which took another 45 minutes. And then as soon as I started that, it said, there's an 150 meg update. So there was a 150 meg update for my 140 meg client. So that took another 45 minutes to download. And when that was finally installed, I was like, finally, the game boots up and it says, checking art assets. There is 16 gigs remaining. And so it sat for a day and a half downloading this.
Yeah, well, okay, I will agree with you on the PS3. I have an Xbox. I do have PS3. I mostly play all the games on the Xbox except for the few that don't come on Xbox. PS3 has a horrible update system. It takes freaking ages. Xbox, literally, it never happens. Like, as soon as you start a game with an update, it's downloaded within, like, literally half a minute. It's so quick.
But I think both of these cases,
you kind of have a bad taste with that.
Both of these cases are really exaggerated by the games that you guys chose. I mean, DCUO is, renowned for just having a ridiculous large download, and Battlefield also because, they're doing things with the in-browser launcher and all of these different things. I think that those will be more streamlined in the future. If you pick some other random game off of Steam and some other random PS3 game, the chances are your times would have been significantly less.
Possibly, but I guess my main irritation with the console is that it's it doesn't really multitask.
It's true.
You're downloading.
Well, no, it's made for games. It's
true.
Games.
It's made for games. It's single purpose. But since they're more and more becoming like all-in-one living room entertainment boxes, to me, it feels like I've got to set it up to do a task and then just leave it for a while. Or on a PC, I can be downloading a Battlefield update while I'm playing another game with you guys. Like it's no big deal. So I don't know. Like I'm hoping, but think about it. Back in 2005, the PC platform was, of course, not nearly as smooth as it is now. When the Xbox 360 came out, most people were still using Windows XP. And as anyone who has tried to do a fresh install of Windows XP lately knows, Windows XP is terrible for making anything work the first time around. Like, you install it, you better have written down what every piece you have in your system is, because it won't even detect what the pieces are some of the time. It's like, well, I guess you got a network adapter. I'm not going to install it. And then
Good luck with that one.
Yeah, then you have to go to like the HP website, which God help you. You have to pick through their terrible support website and then try to find the right drivers. And of course, there'd be 3 different network cards for your particular desktop. So you've got to figure out by guessing which one was the right one, download it, install it, and then you can maybe start downloading updates. So, I mean, the Xbox and the PlayStation 3, they were better than what PCs were at the time. And they've had features added to them over the years, but I think they're kind of starting to slip behind now. Now that the PC is much, much smoother than it was when they came out. And so I think they're starting to look a little dated. But I'm hoping that the new consoles will be enough of a jump forward that maybe even the PC will have to catch up a little bit on like fluidity of game launching and everything. And then we should have like a couple really good years of development. That's what I'm hoping, at least.
I'm so excited for the boost that's going to happen the first year that these new consoles are out. I mean, look at Battlefield 3, for example. They got that game to run on hardware from 2005. I mean, sure, it's trimmed down. It's running at 704p. There's a lot of cut corners, only 24 players. But it runs. It looks good, and it plays good. And the PC version was still, that many times better, despite them having to develop for both systems at the same time. Once these new consoles come out and all of a sudden the bar is just like exploded, it's going to be mind-blowing. I am super excited for all the new console games and PC games. Like, everyone's going to profit here.
I hope so. I mean, there's always the worries that like Sony will pull a typical Sony, have a lot of great features that they don't tell people about and they don't advertise, and then it sells like 30 units its first year on the market and there are no games, and then it takes them 4 years to catch back up. Hopefully that won't happen.
Well, the thing is, I think that kind of links into one of the larger problems with the consoles versus the PC is that you have closed systems versus open systems. And I mean, that's the one thing like the PC allows for, things like modding, things like community-driven games like DayZ. This podcast wouldn't really exist if it weren't for DayZ. Just things like that, which, the PC can be more difficult at times. It's not directly games, but it's a larger experience, it feels like. I mean, how many of you guys played Skyrim without mods?
Yeah, and buying a console is taking a bit of a risk because, like, if you buy a PlayStation 4, you don't know that they're going to really do anything with the system. Like, it could pull a Dreamcast and totally crash and burn. Like, it's technically possible. If you build a really fancy new PC, if no other games ever came out for the PC ever again, you would have enough of a back library to keep you busy for years. Like, it's just the problem with consoles is that they it's a bit of a risk when you're asking someone to pay $500 or $600 for a new console. They're kind of taking a gamble that the companies are going to do a good job of making it worthwhile. And I mean, I think it's paid off most of the time, but I think the GameCube was disappointing to a lot of people for that reason.
And that was the last console I actually bought was a GameCube.
I had a GameCube. I was excited to get it, but the only reason we got it was because it was the cheapest one. And that was disappointing compared to like the N64, which was awesome. So, the GameCube, people who bought that, understandably, were kind of let down. And then people who thought Nintendo still did hardcore gaming who bought a Wii were really let down. And I think
that's part of it, though. That's looking at the history. I mean, if you look at Sega's history, they did, the Saturn, which was, they had decent games, but it was a flop. So you can't really expect the Dreamcast to all of a sudden be like the savior of Sega. And I don't think, Sony or, Microsoft's going to go down that road because they have so many, invested relationships with developers and, they have the cash flow to put behind their systems. Sega was on their last leg when they put out the Dreamcast, and they put it out too late for what it was.
Right.
But
The thing,
comparing, go ahead.
the pros. I think the pros for consoles is, could you imagine playing even a game like Halo 4 on a PC in 2005, or even any game right now, or Battlefield 3? Play Battlefield 3 on a PC from 2005 with the same exact specs as an Xbox.
No, definitely not.
I mean that's the pros of a console is you pay $350 or something for it. I think I don't know what is it now, $200, but let's say back then I think it was like $450 or something like that, right? So you pay for it. If in the case you didn't get the red ring of death, right, in your Xbox, and my one of my brother-in-law, he has an Xbox, the original one. It's still kicking to this day. So he only spent $500 for how many years now? 7 years, 7 or 8.
That is pretty good. But then another way to think about it is how much money has he spent on games?
Well,
Okay, I was on the PlayStation Store recently, and I was looking at games that are 5 years old that are still $20. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I wanted to buy a game. I ended up getting DC Universe Online because I didn't want to pay $20.
I would say it's about even because
No.
Okay. How much did you spend for your computer, right? How much did your computer cost?
Well, I can tell you since 2008 when I built it, I've spent a lot more than just building it. I've probably spent $2,400 since then. Just on, I built it, then I've done upgrades and stuff since then. So I'm probably well over $2,000.
Yeah, so here's my statistics.
But you also use it to make money.
Yeah.
Ignoring what I do for my job. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So $300 gets you a Xbox that plays games at 720p basically for 7 years. If you buy a PC every 3 to 4 years, that costs, let's just say $600. And this is not even accounting for video card upgrades basically every 2 years. I mean, I feel like I get a video card every 2 years because I can't play the next game, right? Because it won't handle it. But you have an Xbox that's 7 years old playing a game still decently at 720p for $300. So obviously, like Xbox games, you're going to be paying $60 if you buy it right off we don't have Steam deals, and I love that. But you also don't have a disc that you can't be like, oh yeah, hey James, I got this awesome game. I'm done with BioShock. Do you want to borrow it and play it? You can't do that.
That's one big problem with PC
but
gaming. The way
although
that could happen, that might happen with the next generation of consoles too.
Yeah, in a way, I kind of hope that, just because I feel like GameStop kind of rips people off with you're trading
and
money.
developers too.
But still, let's say you play a game like Dishonored, you bought it on Steam. Well, now you have a $60 game that you beat in 10 hours where I can take it back to GameStop if I beat it within a week and just get almost all my money back, because you can buy a game and trade it back in within, I think, a week or 2 weeks, and you get all your money back.
We do not promote this for the record. We don't promote buying the games and beating them and then taking them back before the period.
No, but even if you get $30 for it to trade in towards, if you trade it in towards another game, you get a pretty decent trade in, so you get $30 back. So you get $30 back for the multiplayer you didn't play, or Redbox. Yeah,
you get a Redbox and rent out $1 a night. I mean, if you play something like Call of Duty, you're going to spend $60 on it when it's new. You can wait a few months, or you can rent it for 3 days and you've beaten it. Now, if you want to play the multiplayer, then you invest.
I did that with Black Ops, James. I rented it for 3 days, and it was I think it's $2 a night. I think so. I was like, even if I kept it for a whole week, I'd only be paying $14 to beat the single player because I don't want to play the multiplayer. But I ended up taking it back 3 days because I thought it was crap.
But then the counterpoint to that is I've only bought one game at full price in the past year, and that was Battlefield 3. Everything else, I just wait for Steam sales, and I pick up like the last 6 months of games. I pick them up a couple months behind just because I've got plenty of new stuff to play, and I'm picking them up for like $10. $10 to $15. I think my most expensive games other than Battlefield 3 were I waited 1 month after Borderlands 2 came out, and I was able to get a Steam code for $34, and then I got Skyrim for like $20. But everything else has been like $10 or under, which you can do. And I think another problem is, as PC gamers, we're kind of like, people joke about the PC gamer master race, but we kind of like to have our graphics all the way up and be running everything full out, and we could get by with much worse hardware. Like, we don't have to upgrade as much as we do.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like Joel saying, you bought a card every, what, you said 2 years? I've had 2 cards for the last 6, and pretty much the whole time I was able to run everything on high or above.
Yeah, I
So-
mean it's doable. You just
And
have
those are
to.
sub $200 cards too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
do
it's
you
doable.
play at a non-native resolution on your screen though?
No, I pay 1080p.
Nice.
And I play at 1680 by 1050. But yeah, I mean, we could get by with a lot worse. Like I'm pretty confident I could build a computer for less than $400 that would play pretty much every major game out there, at least at 720p, 40, 50 frames per second. Minus games like Arma is just poorly optimized, so I don't think I'd be able to do well on that just because the game is crappily coded. But we definitely could get by with a lot less, which is one of the reasons I'm kind of excited for Haswell, because like if you could spec a build for like a friend and just throw in a $200 processor and they're up and ready to go for the next couple years, that would just be really cool.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
James,
Right,
you
but-
should,
but to
you
your
should
original
mention some of the
question-
PC cons.
Well, to your original question, though, the whole point was setting it up and,
That's true.
maintenance. And, you get a console, you take it home, you sign it for your account or whatever, you're done. You can put a game in and start playing. With a PC, you have to set it up with, of course, the same way you set up your account and everything. But then you have to make sure you have an antivirus installed and make sure your firewall is configured the way you want it on your computer. These are things that you always have to be thinking about, and you might have to, if you didn't build it, then you have to uninstall the bloatware. I mean, there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
that go into even setting it up for the first time. But even still, the maintenance of keeping your system up to date and keeping your antivirus up to date, that's not something that you deal with on a console.
Like what was it that system that Battlefield 3 uses, the
BattleEye?
oh gosh, that I mean
No, BattleEye is
or sorry, yeah,
Punkbuster.
Yeah, remember it was a couple months after it came out that I just booted up the game and for dumb reason I could not play. And there was nothing that told you what was going on, and we ended up finding through forum after forum after forum that it was like you had to reinstall this, but you had to do it a certain way, and you go to this website that looks like it's a virus you're downloading. It was horrible. I couldn't believe that this huge game was run on that. And I think that segues into like matchmaking for online games. On consoles, it's so ridiculously easy just to jump into a game and it works. Then you're into a server.
Well,
playing.
or you sit staring at the Call of Duty screen for 10 minutes waiting for it to find you a match, which I did plenty of. Like it when it works well for a well-coded game that has good support, it works really well. But for a bad poorly
that
coded
and
game,
getting into voice chat. I mean, PC doesn't come with it right off the bat. You can't. Most and not all games come with a free voice chat program.
the PS3 still doesn't have cross-game voice chat.
Well, yeah, that's why, dude, Xbox is amazing compared to PS3 because the PS3 supposedly only has 256 megabytes of RAM and then 256 of video RAM, and because it's separated where the Xbox is together, the 512, they couldn't allow you to do voice chat in a game and then jump out to a menu. Where the Xbox, I can jump into a voice chat with James before we get into a game and then play it. Right? I was playing Resident Evil 6 with my brother, and that voice chat is horrible. You have to actually be in the game to actually voice chat. So you can't I can't call my brother and say, hey, what game do you want to play? And then we do it. I have to call him with my cell phone and say, hey, what game do you want to play? Invite him to the game. It was miserable. It was very much like the Far Cry 3 connection thing.
And the PS3 is a bad example for that anyways.
Yeah,
but if
yeah,
you
that's
look at Xbox compared to the computer, I mean, you have to either set up TeamSpeak or you have to, hopefully the game has a good enough server
Yeah,
for
I mean,
speaking.
and obviously
But-
you're paying for Xbox Live, but you're paying for a service that does work really well. I've never had any really problems with it, but and with the matchmaking, PC has a much bigger matchmaking where you can choose your servers and all that, but you jump into servers that just don't work or nobody's in them or anything. Where most of the time Xbox, since there's a bigger crowd on it, you're gonna probably get into a game much easier because it's made to just jump in. So.
I think something that skews my perspective on the ease of maintaining a computer is like my computer is my job. So, I go to work, I use a high-end computer all day doing graphics work, video work, I do IT stuff. So I'm working on or with computers all day long. And then I come home, and if I do any gaming or any freelance work at home, I'm also working on a fairly high-end computer. So I have to keep everything maintained. It's just like a way of life for me because it's my job.
And
So
part of that, Jeremiah, is once you do that for a while, it's like second nature. Like I can set
Exactly.
up my antivirus and all in 10 minutes on a new build of Windows now. Like I can have it 100% in 10 minutes. So I'm just
Yeah,
used
and
to
not
doing it.
Yeah, not
Can we
only
do
that,
can we
but
do a
as
video
Cal-
of that?
Actually, if
We'll
you have
get
Windows
a
twice
clock.
at work in the last month. I've got it down to like a science.
if you have Windows 8, then I mean,
Then just uninstall it and run.
okay, actually, no, hold on. Let me say, we just bought a laptop for my wife to use because I'm apparently always on this computer or something, so she can't use it for work.
I've heard
So
that
we
line
got her.
before.
We got her an Asus Vivobook, which is a 14-inch touchscreen Ultrabook running Windows 8. And Windows 8 actually, I think, is really awesome if you have a touchscreen or a touchpad that will let you do all the gestures. Because once you get the gestures down, I think it's really fluid, and I really like the direction Microsoft is going with it. I think its design kills OS X. OS X has been using the same general design language for a couple years, so it's just farther ahead than OS X. And I think it's a huge turn for Microsoft. I mean, this is the same company that put out Vista 7 years ago. So I think they're making giant strides, and I really like Windows 8. But I think if I was using it just with a mouse, I don't think I would like it at all. Which I guess, Dave, you're using it with just a mouse, aren't you?
Yeah, and honestly, I need to post that video of Joel ranting about Windows 8 because it's fantastic. And he has some great points, but once you just ignore the UI, the core operating system is great. Like I like the new features in Explorer. It's faster. It works great. It's just that the UI for the PC end is really just unnecessary. Like I use the start screen as like a quick launch menu for my favorite programs, and that is it. Like I've removed all the rest of the apps. It's just a quick launch. It's nothing else.
Yeah, I actually have Windows 8 with the mouse, and I don't mind it. I like the little hot corner setup. My only problem is, and again, going back to gaming, is if you do updates and the computer does not like your update, you have to go into safe mode and do all the stuff to basically roll all those updates back.
That's true.
Like I've never turned on my PS3 and an update just, made it so it did not work.
That's true.
Speaking of the frailty, actually, the reason I had to reinstall a few times recently on my work computer is I had an older storage hard drive in the computer just die, it just wouldn't spin up anymore. It wasn't the main hard drive; it was just like extra storage. But as soon as the hard drive died, Windows 8 freaked out. It's like it would boot to a black screen and just sit there. I had to do a complete restore and system restore and reinstallation and boot repair. Because a hard drive went missing, a non-essential hard drive went missing.
Did you ever figure out what it is? Is it like using the drive for caching or something and it didn't tell you?
Apparently, I actually went through, the last time it did that, it took 4 system restores, walking back over a 4-week period before I finally found a system restore that would boot.
Wow.
I don't know what would cause that, but finally it booted and I'm like, alright, that's close enough.
That really does suck.
That's close enough.
And, Windows 7 did the same thing too with a hard drive that disappeared one day and it just refused to boot. It was like, oh crap, hard drive missing, freak out!
I couldn't help but add this, but right before we started the podcast, you were talking about fans, and I was just got to add in, Xbox has a very quiet fan.
Yes,
My PC upstairs, I mean, it's not loud, but it's kind of annoying when you play a game that's suspenseful like Amnesia. I have to turn my speakers up freaking loud just so I can get that suspense because my fan is like zzzz.
Well,
you
the
can wear
Xbox has a really
earphones.
quiet. The Xbox has
Well,
a really,
yeah, but I'm like, I have
Do you have-
Bose speakers. Why I have to wear headphones to enjoy a game now?
Do you have a newer Xbox now, or do you have an original?
Yeah, it's one of the newer ones, yeah.
Well, the original
'cause-
sounded like a helicopter taking off.
The originals
and
were loud,
if you
and they
install the
weren't-
games, you don't have to run the disc.
The originals, it wouldn't matter how loud or quiet they weren't cooling the processor. Obviously, it wasn't working. The PS3 Classic, it makes a ton of noise. But all that's just because of a poor design. That's not because, it's just a poor design. Chris, do you remember that fan I had added onto the side of it?
Yes.
I bought this fan attachment made by Pelican or some company like that, and it just clipped onto the event side of the PS3. So we'd be playing a game or watching a movie or something, then it just goes and just starts wailing away in the corner. And then it just goes back down, and it's happy.
It's sentient!
And then
Skipping layers. Watch out.
Something I have a really hard time living without now when I go to PC games and stuff. And for you guys who are the PC game master race people, I have both. If you guys both if you had an Xbox and a PC and you played it consistently, where you play a game that's not on PC, on Xbox solely, and you think of it only as a gaming machine, and Netflix or whatever crap, it's awesome to have because it's like I just want to sit down, press a button on a controller that powers it up without having to log in, without having to do all this, and it just works. But there's something hard to live without now is like I love the keyboard and mouse. I love the mouse especially. But I feel like the keyboard is getting so extremely old now for controlling characters in the sense that you only have 8 directions to move. Like I was playing, I got the game Spec Ops The Line, and I use it with a controller now because the stuff that annoys me now, just even with animations, is when you're like running around using a keyboard, you can go 8 directions. So your character does this little wonky like side angle turn like you know you see in WoW games and stuff like that, which is fine. It's great when it's a first person, but when you're playing third person shooters or third person whatever, like a game like Fable, it always just looks awkward because it's like you're only stuck in that one direction, where when you have a controller like a game like Bastion, like it feels more fluid because you can go in a complete 360 and you can creep up around a corner and be really slow, where on a PC it's like you can only do one speed on or off. Or if you hold like shift or alt, that makes you kind of slow walk and stuff. And it's like, I really miss that after playing Xbox for a long time, where I love the mouse, like for Half-Life 2, whenever Half-Life 3 comes out, like I love the mouse control. It feels, because they made the game for it, and it feels really awesome. It feels like you're in the world moving around the crowbar and stuff like that, where I played Half-Life 2 on the Xbox once, and it was just like, this is just not fun. Besides the quality of the graphics, it just didn't feel really great. Because the icons are really big and just the way it moved. But man, it's just like, it feels so behind the times. And I'm wondering, there's got to be some way to make, even with the WASD keys, they're off-centered. Like, I know they make some keys where you can have the W straight up and down, but it's like, it's weird how we're still playing with these really old controls.
And I think that's a great point too, Joel. Like Battlefield 3, for example, has some of the best multiplayer infantry animations like I've ever seen. Like the animation's fantastic, but it kind of breaks the immersion when you see like someone turn that quick angle with a keyboard.
Yeah, it's just funny. Yeah, it's just like when I sometimes play Battlefield 3 with a controller as well, and there's something nice about being able to have that It's more cinematic when you use a controller.
It is, yeah,
because it's like you're able to slowly turn, look at vistas and stuff, and you can't aim as quick and everything, but it's comfortable. But I'm curious to know if there will be an actual real update. I know Gabe Newell has been talking about how he really hates the keyboard and mouse. That's how the controller is. Like he likes the mouse, but you only have two buttons on the mouse. That are really
Speak
standard.
for yourself, sir.
Well, that is standard. That is standard.
Right. And what's standard is what matters, because that's what people design for.
Is it
where the
Xbox
standard now?
Like everyone has a scroll wheel, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
pretty much
every mouse is. But that's what games use a scroll wheel really well. Most of them are just like used to flip between stuff. I mean,
because Armor 2 uses the scroll wheel so well, though.
What does?
No, it uses it horribly.
DayZ
Armor 2.
menus.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, it's the worst.
Scroll to take poop. Soon to come as DLC.
But yeah, like you said, I listened to a podcast with Gabe Newell on it, and I remember him mentioning that they're looking into seeing what they can do to improve input on a PC, and I'm kind of excited to see what's going to happen with that, because I like a keyboard and mouse fine. I don't always like sitting at a desk to game, but I do like the controls pretty well. But it wasn't designed to control games. It was designed to input text. So I'm looking forward to seeing what people can come up with in the future, because there's got to be a better solution. Like, I mean, if 50 years from now we're still using keyboards to game, then someone's just been lazy.
The thing is, though, it has to propagate. Like, it has to be really common, so it has to be cheap, and it has to be probably something that people can use for something besides games. Because there's plenty of gaming controllers for the PC already.
Right.
But
they're not competitive with.
Sorry.
They're not competitive with a keyboard and mouse, though.
Yeah, because think about it. Every computer is going to come with a keyboard and mouse. Like, boom, out of the box, you can play games with your keyboard and mouse. So that even if there is a cool new controller, even if it's like super cheap, you still have to go that extra step.
Yeah.
To go and purchase it.
It's whatever the traditional method of controlling that computer, that device, that will be the main, way of input for games. Yeah, and
which touch is becoming bigger and bigger. So touch.
Gosh, I hope that doesn't take over. I really hope that doesn't take over too much, because, I mean, I have an iPhone and there's a few apps that I enjoy playing, but when you're trying to play an actual game, there's nothing like actually feeling buttons, on a controller,
that's true.
And having like a D-pad or something like that.
Well,
it's like,
we say that because we haven't we've only experienced what's come out so far.
Yeah, I guess
there's
so.
possible that someone could come out with a touch interface that just blows your mind and is so amazing. Like, think about what if oh, what's the Xbox thing called? The thing with the camera on it.
Yeah, the Kinect.
Kinect.
Yeah.
What if Kinect actually worked like the demo they showed off at E3 before it came out?
The one with that little boy that was like you're interacting with him?
Like
yeah,
what if it worked
so
like
excited for
that? Like I would play games like that, you know? If it was that perfect. And once stuff gets closer to that point, we might decide that like buttons, forget buttons, like I've got fingers, you know. it could get that direction. Maybe. This is all of course speculation.
I don't know, because there's a lot of lazy gamers out there. I don't
That's
know.
true.
They're going to jump up and start shooting at the screen. I mean, I'll admit, I'll lay back, recline every once in a while, just
That
very
is
loosely hold my controller and just...
that is the main advantage of console gaming is you can do it laying down on the couch much easier, which I know Dave has rigged
once
up
again
his
speaking
computer.
yourself.
Dave is an exception. And that,
Yeah, Dave,
His
most
house
people
is an
don't run
exception.
Ethernet through their walls so they can feed a video feed through Ethernet into a TV so they can lay on a couch. Most people have not done that.
And USB and optical audio.
That's the benefit of building a house.
yeah. Hey,
That is true.
Hey, James, you talk about our PC cons we put down the first one. Yeah, you think you mentioned that the best.
Where
Do you have it on there? It was talking about living room friendly.
Oh yeah, I took my computer down in the living room because I've got a big TV downstairs, and my computer has no problem running at 1080p. That's what my monitor is. But it was nice to run in on something a little bit sharper looking. But then my wife got home and was like, "Why is the computer in the living room?" That's the thing. That's the thing. With the console it's there. It's not an eyesore. It doesn't stand out. Maybe when the Steam box comes out, it'll be a little bit smaller form factor. But for her to be able to go upstairs and edit some photos, because I spent all this money on a computer that could do After Effects and stuff.
Right.
It's also I secretly made it for gaming also. That PC's got to go back upstairs so she can do some work. Am I going to buy two computers for that purpose? Am I going to buy a gaming computer and a multimedia computer?
Well, I mean, yeah, so if you've been building computers for a while, something you could even do is I just took a bunch of spare parts and I bought a nice sleek home theater case and then packed all the parts into it, and that was my media computer. Like it was a Radeon 5450, a Core 2 Duo, and a 74 gig Raptor hard drive. And like that could handle very light gaming, but it also did all the media streaming and everything. It could easily play 1080p videos and stuff like that. So, I mean, you could always do something like that if you have enough spare parts laying around. But again, that's something that probably only more hardcore PC gamers are going to bother with. That's not really casual at all.
But see, it's not really required anymore to actually build a separate PC, and that's something that's changed since 2005.
That's true.
When the consoles first came out, if you wanted your PC on your TV, it was a nightmare. But now video cards come with mini HDMI out. Like all you need to plug your TV into your computer is an HDMI cable, and you're done.
And if your computer's in another room upstairs, about 30 feet away,
Yeah,
just a really long
a
cable.
limitation.
And then you need a wireless keyboard, a wireless mouse, and then because the menus in Windows are made really small, you're going to have to adjust that. Settings.
You guys are just starting hardcore enough.
We're not talking about
it's
hardcore.
called being balanced. It's being
Yeah.
balanced. It's
Right. There is
love my
something to be
computer
said for
gaming.
user friendliness. Like I ditched the home theater computer when we moved. We got an Apple TV box, and then we just used the iPad to stream everything to the TV.
We have an Apple TV as well. It's I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah, and for everything we were doing, that made a difference. Now I'm not trying to game in my living room, on a PC. If I was trying to do that, of course, that wouldn't really work out that well. But yeah, I don't know. It's hopefully, again, maybe with Haswell, maybe you'll be able to get a tiny little home theater computer that sits in your living room and looks sleek, and you could do light gaming on and stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean, with that possible Steam box being able to update via Steam or however, that's going to be pretty nice. Because I've tried using the Steam, whatever it's called, the front row.
Big picture
not
mode.
big picture. No, front row, that's Apple. Yeah, big picture. And that's really nice. I love it. It's awesome. Especially on it actually tells you which games are controller friendly, that they already have it patched in. So if you have an Xbox controller, you can play games that are already just built for that. So you don't have to worry about it, which is really nice.
That's the thing. Big picture really felt like it just felt like a real console experience when I plugged it in. Yeah. So I hope that Steam will go all in with their ability to deliver that stuff to a television.
Cons for both Xbox. or consoles and PC, is on Xbox you get whiny children on voice chat, and on PC you get whiny adults. So
That is true.
What do you want?
That is true.
So you go
Same
high
language.
pitch,
It's so true.
high pitch voices or low pitch voices.
Well, on PC, most of the time they're not in the global chat channel. There's only a couple games I play where they're in global voice chat. Most of the time,
Yeah, that's
people are like on TeamSpeak or something. But there are games like Team Fortress 2 or Left 4 Dead where people just start screaming
yeah.
at you.
Depends a
Dare
lot
make
on the game.
mistake.
Yeah, it really does.
Something that crosses both, console and PC is everyone wants your mom. Why does everybody want my mom?
Actually, I think it would be kind of cool since we're talking about, we've been talking about our perspectives on PC versus console gaming and the ease of setting them up. Let's everyone go around and tell what your PC specs are and how long ago you built it, just kind of to give everyone perspective on what we've been talking about. Who wants to go first?
You.
Dave, you go first.
All right.
Am I going first?
I think you're going first.
Okay, so the system that I have right now is a i7 930, currently overclocked to 4 gigahertz on a closed water cooler, 6 gigs of Michigan RAM, and 2 EVGA GTX 480s, which I actually use to heat my office in the wintertime.
It's not on right now, right?
No, they're definitely on because I can hear the loud roaring noise in the background.
But he's cold.
I'm just warming my hands at the back of my computer right now. Other than that, pretty basic. I got a couple of screens. The kind of neat thing is I had the opportunity when I was remodeling my house. I had the walls open. I ran like 10 lines of Cat 6, HDMI, optical audio, and all that fun stuff. And I have cabling that goes to my living room. And that includes like a USB mouse and keyboard that I keep behind my main TV in the living room. So when I want to use my main desktop, like monster gaming PC on my TV, I literally take my HDMI cable behind it, plug it into this nice, cool-looking HDMI port in the wall, and it all instantly switches over to my TV. I go over to my TV, pick up my mouse and keyboard, sit on the couch, and I can play any of my PC games right there.
Which is really cool, and that's something, if I ever build a house, I will definitely look into doing that. Because that's the right way to do it if you want to be that nerdy about it, which I fully support and applaud. But that's just...
Well, see, the advantage is, too, all it took, like all the HDMI and audio and all, it all goes through Cat 6 at one point, including the USB. So any of these newer houses where like the contractors are putting the Cat 6 in the walls, as long as you have enough lines, you can totally do that just like right off the bat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and I'm very envious of your setup, so... Well, no, I take that back. I like how quiet and cool mine is.
Yeah, the noise is a problem with these 480s.
Yours definitely has the wow factor when you first see it.
And the wind tunnel factor.
Yeah. Joel,
strap
dust
in,
never
you're
actually
going to be
settles.
playing and living in this game.
Joel, you seem
the
to
dust in
be
my
like
office never actually settles.
you seem to be the most console friendly among us. Or maybe James is, and he's just more polite about it. Who knows?
He's usually
This is
not
only my
this polite
second
to me.
podcast. You got to wait for me to get a little bit more honorary.
All right, then James, what are your specs?
I have an i5 quad core, 3.2
Which one?
gigahertz.
It matters. Which one?
Oh God. That involves me actually looking it up.
Is it 2500K? 2400? 2500?
I think it's a 3000 series.
Oh, okay. So it's a Ivy
28,000
Bridge.
gigabit watts.
Shut
And I
up,
have
Joel.
a GTX 550 Ti for my
Okay.
graphics.
Nice.
And 8 gigs of RAM. And
Cool.
one terabyte internal and 1 terabyte attached to eSATA.
Cool.
Oh, I forgot to talk about hard drives. Holy crap.
You have lots. Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I have like 6 hard drives internal and like 4 on my desk right now.
All right, Joel, how about you?
Dave helped me actually upgrade my CPU just recently to a Intel Core 2 Quad Q9 550, whatever.
You're
the crap that
on
is.
a 775?
Yeah.
Whatever the crap that means. Yeah, it's 2.83 gigahertz.
Whoa.
I've got 8 gigs of RAM. Oh yeah. I've got an SSD hard drive, which is amazing now. Love it. And I have a GTX 560. I think it's the EVGA one.
Cool. Chris?
I've got a Intel Core i5 2500K overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz, 8 gigs of RAM, a Vertex 3 SSD, and a 5880.
5850, I think.
5850. Yeah. That's
Yeah, yeah, it's 5850. I have. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's right. That's it.
I have the worst. I like everyone else went Intel on their processors. It sounds like I'm the sucker. Like I started out Intel and Nvidia. Then every time I've been willing to upgrade, for whatever reason, AMD drags me in each time. I don't know how it happens. Like I'm always like Intel. Next time I'm going Intel, and then they come out with something. I'm like, well, that's pretty good.
That AMD siren song.
Yeah. So I have a Phenom X6 1090T hexacore. Don't get all excited. It's not even as good as the 2500K, but it's clocked at 4 gigahertz. I have 16 gigs of RAM, and I have a AMD 7950 3 gigabyte graphics card, which is new, and I really like it because I don't regret getting this one. I kind of regret my processor. I do not regret the GPU because it came with Far Cry 3, Hitman Absolution, and Sleeping Dogs, and it has enough memory on it that I can run textures full out on anything, no problem. Like Skyrim, I'm running a bunch of texture mods, and it hasn't even slowed it down because it's not even filling it up. And I tried multi-monitor gaming again, and I don't like it, so I'm not really doing it now. But if I wanted to, like, I could very easily. It just has so much memory, which I really like. And it overclocks. I've gotten about a 25% performance boost from overclocking this card, and you never used to really be able to overclock graphics cards.
Yeah,
so
25% is nuts.
It is. I'm super excited by that. So I probably have performance on a well-optimized game. I probably have pretty similar performance to Dave's dual cards, but for like a third of the power demand and almost none of the noise.
And probably like a tenth of the heat.
You guys sound like those coupon shoppers. They're like, and then I found like 60 Coca-Colas for only 10 cents, and then I had a coupon which reduced that to 2 cents.
My sister is one of those people. This is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but she'll go out at like 8:30 in the morning on a Sunday with her coupon book because like that's the only hour this particular deal will be good, and she'll go and do like a Farm Fresh with her coupon book and come out later with a cart of food of like 40 things. Oh, she went at, my wife is correcting me. She went at 6 a.m. Yeah, she went at 6 a.m. while pregnant. And she'll come back with like 40 things of mac and cheese and like 2 turkeys, and she paid, $4 or something after she does all. She's one of those people. So their pantry looks like the weirdest mishmash of redneck gut filler food.
God bless them.
That's a coupon warrior right there.
My wife does a couponing.
She'd be good at DayZ.
She would be getting all those whiskey bottles and the broken empty cans too.
And trading them in for money, probably.
My wife has the whole language down. Like, but it's Super Double Day. I'm like, I don't know what that is. Why?
It's like,
why do we need 5 tubes of toothpaste?
But I was like, I was hungry yesterday though.
Yeah, you put $80 worth of groceries. Where's the bread and meat? I don't see any of that.
That's one disadvantage of living in a camper is you can't really have extras of anything because there's no room. So we buy eggs now. Like sometimes we buy a dozen if we have enough room. Otherwise we buy them by the 6. Like we buy 6 eggs or a stick of butter.
Man, I hate eggs.
So
Like a 6-pack of eggs is like 50 cents per egg.
Yeah, it's not
it's something ridiculous. For 5 cents more, you can get 6 more.
This omelet's gonna be worth it.
So if the world ends, you guys have like 3 days of supplies on hand.
That is true, but I can pull my house. So
Oh,
I don't own. I don't own
For how long?
Well, I don't own a vehicle that can pull it, but theoretically I can pull it.
just roll it
Get
downhill.
a whole bunch of manpower. We're gonna pull this into the woods and hide it.
I want to see your car try.
Well, all right. Well, we have 2 cars. The Tercel would scream, and the back bumper would hit the ground, and then the wheels would come off the ground, and it would never run again.
Hey, don't knock Tercels. I had one. They don't die.
Oh no, ours.
I don't think they would stop running.
Hey, we're now Tercel buddies for life. Ours is at 220,000 miles. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to break off for a minute. We're conversational. Is it okay if I rabbit trail for a minute?
Go for a minute.
I think it's okay.
We're already
For the last half an hour.
Okay. So anyway, my first car I bought when I was 16. I've been saving since I was 12, and I was like, I had determined I was going to get a nice car, not necessarily a super expensive one, but I wanted a car to be proud of. So the rest of my friends were trying to get stuff like Mustangs or big pickup trucks or something like that. And I wanted a forest green BMW with tan leather and a stick shift. And I found it. It was a 1992 BMW 325i, 160,000 miles, leather. It was in really nice shape, manual transmission, and I bought it, and that was my car for 5 years. And
Wow.
the engine and transmission were bulletproof. They never had an issue. But a lot of other things did. I went through, my throwout bearing went on my clutch, so I had the clutch replaced, and then the shop that did the clutch did a poor job, so my clutch plate separated while Chris and I were living out in Indiana doing an internship. So like the car stopped wanting to shift. So once we merged back at school, we merged out onto the main expressway in the area, and Joel and Dave, you know which one I'm talking about probably. We merged out onto it going like 65 miles an hour, and then the car just refused to go into the next gear, and we just started coasting down the road. And then the air conditioning compressor sheared off, like the belt froze, the pulley froze, and the belt sheared off the front of the compressor. So that was going to be $900 to fix. So that didn't happen. And then my water pump went out. No, not my water pump. My master cylinder went out, and that was like another $300. And then I had to replace spark plugs, so that was like $80. And then let's see what else happened. Oh, okay. So after the air conditioning, I decided I wasn't going to fix that. Then all the doors started unlocking themselves randomly.
Maybe ejecting passengers.
Possessed.
Okay, this is going to sound weird. It took 17 tries to lock the doors every time. Like, I had to stand by the car and lock them no more and no less than 17 times, and the 17th time they stayed. That is so bizarre. But finally...
It's the consistency of German engineering.
Exactly.
Finally, the car's way of saying, please someone steal me so you can stop pouring money into me.
So
It's for your own good.
So then the headliner started dipping, which was actually my fault, 'cause I damaged it, and then it started dipping, and from that point, that was over. And then...
Once the headliner goes, I mean, that car just...
It starts,
downhill.
it stops feeling nearly as nice. And then my passenger side window fell into the door. So I lifted it back up, and then I just lifted the track underneath it. So the passenger window no longer worked, but the air conditioning was broke. So that was kind of inconvenient. And then we had a kind of a bad storm, and it didn't get flooded, but I think it got some minor water damage. Because around the windshield kind of leaked. And then this all developed from like since I bought it. When I bought it, it was in really nice shape, but it got over 200,000 miles and stuff started going wrong. The gauges went out due to some water damage, and that was going to be like $500 minimum to fix. So at that point, I was like, okay, I love this car. This is my first car, but this is no longer a financially mature decision to keep.
Please tell me you just took it out back and shot it and put it out of its misery.
No, I listed it on Craigslist. And I made the mistake. I didn't check what other BMWs were going for in the area. I just put it on Craigslist at Blue Book value, but I listed all the problems that were wrong with it and everything. Like, I was totally honest and upfront. Like, there's a lot of issues with this car, except for the engine and transmission have never had a single, they've never had a single issue. Plenty of things attached to them have, but they've never had an issue. So I listed it for the Blue Book value, and then I got 24 calls within the next 10 hours. People like beating my door down trying to come get the car. And I got the normal Craigslist like scam stuff that was like, I'll give you $800 in food stamps, and I was like, no thank you.
Did they tell you they were in London that you'd have to drop it off at the...
No, I never got that for the car. That was when I was selling camera equipment. Oh man, so many scammers. But yeah, so I sold it to a BMW master mechanic, and then so he looked at it, like he drove it for 30 seconds and then bought it. He didn't care about all the cosmetic stuff. And then I saw it a week later. He actually swung by where I worked because I'd left something in the car. And he pulled up, and he'd already like banged out the dents. He had a new driver's seat in. He had new gauges. He had gotten like a couple things fixed. He had new struts all the way around. I never replaced the struts because that would have been like $1,000. And so he shows up driving my car like in much better shape than it's been for years. And I was like, oh, I miss it.
A good home.
Exactly. So then we went out and we bought a forest green 1996 Toyota Tercel with 160,000 miles on it. And I
nice
spent
small number.
Yep. I spent $500 when I first got it. I got everything. I got new discs, pads, struts, plugs, filters, hoses, like every single thing you could possibly want to replace for normal maintenance. We went ahead and just did it. And that car, since we've owned it almost 2 years now, and we have put 60,000 miles on it. And it has not broken once. Like, it runs like a top. We have not put a dime into maintenance since then, and it gets 40 miles per gallon. It's already paid for itself compared to driving the BMW. So that car,
Tercel. When
that
I
car is
saw
awesome.
it, I saw it was just on the side of the road, and it just had $600 on it. And my car had just like broken down. It was gonna be really expensive to fix because it was a rack and pinion steering. So I bought it, and the only thing I ever put into it was tires. I mean, of course, oil changes, but
right.
And it was still running when I sold it really well, and I think it got in a car accident and was still running after that. But
oh man, yeah, ours is awesome. We love it. I mean, it's very uncomfortable to sit in for long periods of time. It gives me back trouble if I drive it for a long distance because I'm taller than average though, so it's kind of different. And the first thing we did was replace the tires with actual wide ones. It had I don't know if you know how to read tires, but they were 155s, which means it's 15.5 centimeters wide, compared to a normal passenger car, which is at least 20 centimeters. And that might not sound like much, but like we'd go around dry corners and the car would be skittering. Like
that's the fun part.
You couldn't stop in the rain. It was just like, nope. So we got 175s on it, and it drives a whole lot better now. But yeah, I absolutely.
But that was the
love
beauty
that
of the car. The tires are only like $25 a piece.
Yeah, and it will never make financial
Replace
sense
them
to get rid of
every
this
day.
car unless it rusts. There's no reason to ever get rid of this car. I can get a used engine for $400.
Jeez.
I know, and the engine, me and one other person could lift the engine out of the car. Like, it's so small. So anyway,
Jeremiah, you mentioned that ramp you were talking about. I actually almost died on that ramp in my first car. Trying to merge. I was driving a 1995 Nissan Pathfinder that had been a work truck for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a hand-me-down car, and it had this issue with the security system where if the battery got jostled hard enough, like the security system thought that like someone was stealing the battery, and so it would cut the engine like completely off
while you were driving it.
Yeah,
it was stolen at 60 miles an hour. This makes sense.
Yeah, so one day it's like after class, I'm heading to merge onto the highway, and I'm accelerating, like doing about 45 miles an hour. And as I hit my signal and merge, I hit like a bump, and everything cuts off. I lose my power steering, and I'm like trying to wrench it out of traffic while drifting like towards the shoulder. And people are trying to get around me to go to the next ramp too and merge left. So I've got cars on both sides of me like passing me. I'm like, I can't get over. Nothing's working.
Except the alarm.
And that's how I almost died in my first car.
Now, what ramp are you talking about?
We don't want to tell people exactly where where this takes place.
You can give me a visual.
Okay. All right, Dave, you guys live there, so you can probably give a better visual.
It's from a very populated university that's next to a very, very
Is
busy
it the
area
big,
of traffic.
long, like, round ramp? Like
Is this the one that has no I guess on ramp? Like you just
Yeah, you just merge right out into it. There's no.
Oh,
yeah,
that
you,
one?
you
Oh,
have
yeah,
to
okay.
stop first. That one. Like
you have to stop or
Actually-
gun it.
You're not supposed to stop.
I almost got into a 6-car pileup 2 nights ago there because I was in a line of 7 cars coming out of the stoplight to merge onto the highway, and the first car, after like trying to merge, just panicked and slammed on their brakes. And every car in line, we all pumped our brakes and skidded onto the shoulder, like all the way down the line to avoid hitting them.
Wow.
I mean, that was freaky. Like a whole lot of cars all locking their brakes and skidding.
driving
Someone's gonna
with
die there.
Dave.
I would always like go really slow around the curve and try to time my speed, and then get up to like full speed as I'm whipping out, so I could get in between 2 cars, because otherwise you're just gonna get.
Well, that's what I always did on that ramp.
Weird.
I admittedly, when I first got my car, I drove like a little bit of a hot foot. So I would always leave it in second gear, and then shift into third is when I was almost through the ramp, because third would, if I shifted just right, I'd hit the peak torque curve at about 50 miles an hour, and then third would take me all the way up to 80 in like 2 or 3 seconds. It felt like it was probably a little longer than that, but that was the optimal power band of the car. So I would always come screaming around that corner, and that's when I got in trouble. Was I came screaming like I was at the top of third gear almost, and I went to shift into fourth and nothing. No, I was in the top of second. I went to go to third, and it was nothing. Like the stick wouldn't come out of the gear.
Usually, look up. This is how I die.
Anyway, PC gaming.
Hey, just to wrap that whole thing up, I think this is a giant analogy for modding PCs. When you go down a rabbit trail of installing way too many mods and installing all the hacks to make your CPU run faster, and then you're like, oh crap, the whole thing's bricked.
No, it's true. There is something to be said for a console. Like, they don't give you the option to screw it up. But see, if you're of a more libertarian,
They do it themselves
mindset,
sometimes.
That's not true. I can screw. I've gone inside my consoles.
if you're more libertarian politically, then you like a PC because it gives you the freedom to make terrible, terrible decisions that will hurt you.
Freedom to install malware and viruses.
Joel can attest to this. I actually froze Halo 4. I managed to horribly crash it. You remember that, Joel? Like the first night I was trying to play it.
Yeah,
with you
you
guys?
just booted it up and it just froze. It was actually a part of the game. It was just a 10-minute waiting.
I had to unplug the console completely to get it to restart. It was hard locked.
Wow. Well, I mean, think about it. That's not that really shouldn't be that uncommon because it is kind of like a mini PC running a custom operating system.
So it's really stretched now too.
Yeah, and it's really stretched now. So it can hard lock for all the same reasons. Even more so when a game comes out, because we all know now most games come out not at all polished and ready to be delivered. Like most of them come out and need a couple patches at least before they're useful. And then you still have some games like Skyrim on the PS3 where once you reach a certain point, the game just doesn't work anymore because they don't know how to manage memory. So once you leave enough items laying around the world, the game doesn't work.
When you have as little as a PS3 does, it's not hard to use up.
That's true.
Yeah, so
it's amazing to me that they're
means
still
Dave
getting by
could
on
not play. He would loot everything.
Yeah, I'd be screwed.
Yeah. So what was the next thing we were going to talk about?
Oh gosh.
Oh.
Which podcast is this again?
No, I just wanted to ask everyone some gaming habits.
Okay.
I mean the quirky things. So I'll just start off with one of just saying, do you have any weird quirks of how you use your controls? Does anybody play inverted?
No.
I play inverted on the on a PS3 or Xbox, and then I play normal on a PC.
That's weird.
Whoa.
Weird. That is really weird.
Freak. Burn the witch.
I've got one weird thing. You know how it's widely held that there are some gaming mice the standards of the industry, the G500, the MX518, the Rat 7. What are some of the other ones? Is the Logitech G9, was that a mouse?
Dude, you're just spouting numbers to me.
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I mean, there's the mice that are the most popular ones that are commonly recommended, and I've tried all of them, and I can't use them. My hands cramp up; they feel terrible. I have really big hands, which might make a little bit of a difference, but they're so uncomfortable. The only mouse I've ever found that feels awesome is a Microsoft Sidewinder. And
Those were good mice, though.
They are really good mice. I've got one of the original ones that has a little weight sled that pulls out from it and has metal buttons and a metal scroll wheel. The disadvantage is they don't make them anymore. So when this one dies, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm always keeping an eye on eBay, but they're at a big markup now. Chris, you have a newer Sidewinder, one of the wireless ones, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I had an old one, and I got a job and decided that I couldn't stand the mouse at work, so I brought my old gaming mouse.
I gave you your old Sidewinder, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because I got
upgraded.
That one didn't have the weight sled, and I wanted a little bit of a heavier mouse, so
Yeah.
I got the one with the weight sled, which actually I think is the older version. But yeah, I love the Sidewinder. That's what I use at work, and that's what I use at home. So that's a little weird thing for me. I can't use another mouse and get anything else done. My hand cramps, I just can't use it. And then my keyboard is a 15-year-old IBM ThinkPad keyboard. It has the round red nub. And the ThinkPad buttons for the trackpad. It has on it. I know. I found this thing at a thrift store. I got it for $2, and I looked on eBay, and apparently these things sell for $100 now because it's mechanical. It has no numpad, so it's a nice compact design, and it is super clicky and awesome. I love it. So those are my weird things. If I lost my mouse and my keyboard, I don't know what I'd do.
I like the game with my Logitech media remote with the trackball built in. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
Dang it!
Dedication.
I was totally gonna joke there too. I was gonna say I use the NES Power Glove. That
explains a lot about your playing ability.
I bet there's some really crummy drivers out there.
I was going to say, where would you find drivers for that?
Okay. Another question is, for most games...
Wait, I don't get to answer that.
Oh, sorry. Well, we all know Dave just uses his brain. You just connect via optical.
That's just how I roll. I don't really have any weird habits now, but back when I was a kid, and I was like big into games like Descent, where you'd use like WASD and the arrow keys and stuff. I hated joysticks for some reason. I used to cross my hands over each other to like use multiple parts of the keyboard. Like I don't know why. It just felt like comfortable for me. Like I had like right hand on left hand area and left hand on right hand area of the keyboard.
That is weird.
That was my weird habit. I have no idea. Like maybe my brain was crossed or something as a kid.
You could have reassigned the keys. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you have the freedom on a
Whoa,
PC.
let's not talk crazy here.
Okay, my other question was, when playing a third-person, shooter or any kind of game that allows you to create a character, do you make the character look like you, or do you try to make it always make it completely unlike you?
I always try to make mine a really old-looking guy with lots of scars and a really weathered face who just looks mean and angry and like he doesn't want to be there anymore. So he looks like the inner me.
He looks like Mike from Breaking Bad.
Pretty much, yeah. That's like whether I'm in Skyrim or a shooter or anything, I basically try to make him an old, grizzled veteran.
You got some childhood issues, man.
No.
Just kidding. What about you,
I don't
Dave?
think I've ever actually played an RPG character that was like looking like me. What I do like to do is come up with like at least a simple backstory for a character, and then like create a look for that character, and then follow that backstory and look throughout the playthrough. Like for Skyrim, I was a female ranger. For New Vegas, I was like I sounds like Jeremiah's character. I was like an older guy who looked like a cowboy hat, who was like bitter and like always angry. And
Why?
I think it's more fun to have like a little backstory.
Why a female ranger, Dave?
I
want to know the
ideas.
backstory. Are you going to release this backstory?
Actually, it's already in the video on my channel.
Oh, okay. Gonna have to
Yeah,
watch
there was
that.
a montage, I remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I usually build my characters with, very chiseled, nice hair, kind of a just determined look. I just try to model it after myself, minus minus the muscles and the determined look and the
Yeah, I always go for just as close as I can to look like me, basically. So, like,
And
I'm not a huge I don't like having like long hair in a game like Skyrim, unless the short hair doesn't look at all like me. So I use long hair, but usually it's always me. I don't ever play as like a different race, like an alien race or something like that, or those cat people from Skyrim.
Yeah, I've never played as those. Now
That's
I
not
always
a hair talk, Joel.
I always try to play as like the good guy, the hero, but who does bad stuff when no one's looking.
there's no red hand I can steal.
Exactly. Like in Oblivion, I was the hero of the whole world, and every night I would break into shops and steal everything and sell it. And I would just like, I never bought
this.
when on the PS3 I bought a house, but on the PC I didn't buy a house. I just killed somebody in every town, and I took their house, and I would just pile up bodies in the basement.
Don't let politicians hear that one.
I'm not a bad person.
I remember the first murder in the Oblivion game, where you go to bed and you wake up and someone greets you there, and I was just I got really freaked out because I was like, how the crap did he know? Because I couldn't remember actually killing someone like that. It was probably like an accidental murder of someone that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like you go in a city and like you get attacked by someone, and then if you accidentally slice like a civilian, they start attacking you. So you're not just gonna let them kill you.
Right.
It's the same way that all the guards seem to know. No matter where you did it, they always come running up to you. Stop.
They will hunt you down.
I love those
No matter
YouTube videos.
what.
Yeah. Stop Imperial scum.
It's like, then pay with your blood.
It's the middle of the night. Just one lady, and I killed her.
Away.
It's like, let me get this straight. I'm the hero of Oblivion. I just saved the realm. Shut the gates of Oblivion. I'm the hero of whatever the realm is called. Cyrodiil. I'm the hero of Cyrodiil. I've saved the realm. I've shut the gates of Oblivion, and I stole something. And your plan is to arrest me? Good luck.
Or kill you.
or kill me. Good luck.
It's like the
That's still
bandits.
my biggest problem with pretty much all Bethesda games is there's no end game, and nobody recognizes anything you've done.
You're like, oh my gosh, you're such a big hero. Hey, I've got this letter, and I can't deliver it across the street. Would you mind carrying this over for me?
I so
no,
want to do that in
hero,
real
that's
life.
my sweet role.
I'll give you a really crummy axe as a gift.
I want to do that in real life. Just go to the grocery store and be like, "Excuse me, sir. Do you have any jobs here? I've got some coin. I can trade with you. I've got some raw hide."
Jeremiah, I always loved those like crappy gifts you get like about halfway through the game when they were worthless. By the end of it, I had like piles of loot at quest givers where I was like, "Oh, thanks for the sweet weapon." Drop.
It's like right in front of them too.
Yeah, just right at their feet. Like, I take your gift and cast it at your feet.
Did you notice a few times in Skyrim if you dropped armor, like they'd be like, "Hey, excuse me, you dropped this," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I meant to."
Yeah, it was even better when it was the person who just gave it to you. You're like, "Oh no, that wasn't a mistake. I hate it."
I love that about Fallout. Like the little girl would run up to you with a water bottle. Here, this is for all your troubles. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want the iguana on a stick.
I never gave those like homeless people outside water. I'd always give them like the radiated water, and they always get angry at me.
Yeah, I gave them like 20 or 30 bottles, hoping at some point something was going to happen. I don't know why. Should have probably stopped at one.
That's what happens when you give stuff to the poor, James. They just keep taking. I'm just kidding. Okay, I think now
Selling it to all the other beggars.
I think now it's time for 90 seconds with Joel. What do you guys think?
I think so.
All right. This is the part of the podcast where Joel talks about something for 90 seconds ish. Go, Joel.
Okay, I'm going to talk about some really hardcore games. I mean, you got to be a master at these games. So, we all play these games nowadays. Most games are really easy, unless you put difficulty on like Hell Nightmare mode that they build in. But do you guys remember the old games like on Atari that there was no introduction whatsoever? You were slammed into the face of the game and like you died within seconds. So James and I, we've been recently playing through some old Atari games, and we decided to do this little clip segment of just how long could I last, stay alive in a game, in old Atari games, old NES games. And it's ridiculous. Those games are absolutely brutal. It's like you get in, there's nothing that says, here's your objective. It just says, go. And you can't even tell if you're a character or a block or anything. And so we started this thing called Posh Gamers. We're just starting up the channel. We're just going to kind of be playing around with it. It's mostly for fun, but it's hilarious. Go back and play some of those old Atari games, and you realize, oh my gosh, games nowadays are so ridiculously easy compared to these old games. And that's
They're more built. They're more built around easing people into a fun experience than they are about like making it some hardcore challenge.
Yeah,
I don't
and
think they meant for it to be a hardcore challenge. I just don't think they could program a well-played challenge. I think it was just hard by default. Because they couldn't
it
do
was also
anything
about
else.
getting more money in the machines too. Like the harder it was, the more money they made for the arcade games.
That is also true.
I just think they were that bad.
Yeah, because I mean, the old games like Dig Dug, that was a great game, but it wasn't very hard. I mean, it wasn't extremely hard. You could get into it and play the first few levels without dying, or like Pac-Man. But some of the old games like E.T. or if you go on our channel and see some of them, it's just ridiculous. Like
you played Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time.
Yeah, I played Raiders of the Lost Ark. I've seen it in a few videos before, but oh my gosh, the controls are ridiculous. You spawn in this blue little world area, and immediately snakes are after you, and you're just like, what do I do? I'm a little like quirky little like puzzle looking dude just walking around, and then within 20 seconds I fell off some cliff, landed in some sand or something, and I was dead.
Are you not entertained?
Those games, I don't know how children played those games. Like, oh my gosh, how did they enjoy them? Maybe they all became cranky old adults now.
They were also watching like 14-inch fuzzy TVs and all kinds of other stuff. We've just gotten so spoiled now that we expect more. If we expected less, we probably would have thought it was really awesome.
I think that's why we created the entitlement generation, because we just said everybody's special, because you know what? When we were a kid, nobody was special.
Everybody died.
All right. Dave, do you have a comment of the week for us?
Comment of the week? Yes, I do.
All right.
All right, guys, this is the part of the podcast where I take a comment from my YouTube channel, I run it through a voice synthesizer, and then we all laugh at it. Here is our comment of the week.
Well, as a matter of fact, Southerners do shoot better than Northerners. We're better at everything. You're the one who brought it up.
Yeah, Southerners are better at everything except winning wars. They are not as good at industry. They're not as good at pretty much
Naval forces, perhaps.
The big one is war. They're not as good at winning wars, and I say that like I live in the South, so I'm not picking on the South too much, but I don't think the South is better at everything. Literacy,
There's a historical precedent there.
Right. So yeah, but
actually, what's great is I've been watching my email here. That argument has gone back and forth like 7 or 9 more comments. Holy crap.
Arguing about North versus South?
Yeah, it's still going
YouTube,
on right now.
So it's to be expected.
You might actually spark the next Civil War.
I'd be the lamest way to start.
Wait. Someone might argue that's the war between the states. I remember hearing that all the time. I'd be like, hey, you talking about the Civil War? No, Joel, it's the war between the states. But like, really? Just smack me right here, man.
Was that in homeschool?
Hey, Joel, were you homeschooled?
Yes.
Oh, I was too. Hi.
Yeah, we done for the social awkwardness.
Chris was homeschooled too.
I was.
Oh, Dave, you were too? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know this about all of us except for Chris.
James,
Wow,
you weren't homeschooled,
actually-
right?
No, it wasn't homeschooled.
Wow, you're... What's it like, James?
All right. Moving
You had
on.
all these people beside you.
All right.
And you
Moving
didn't
on.
have
We
to ask
have to start wrapping up. We're at a minute 45 or 1 hour and 45 minutes. So
yeah, this was going to be 480p.
we didn't have any listener questions come in this week. If you want to be a part of the show, tweet at Casual Shenanigans on Twitter or send an email into casualshenanigans@gmail.com. Casualshenanigans@gmail.com. To be a part of the show, or you can send us an MP3 of a question, and we might play it on the podcast if it sounds like it was recorded well and doesn't sound like you were screaming at your phone from halfway across the room, which is kind of what Joel's
better
Xbox.
than Chris's mic.
Chris's mic? How about Joel's Xbox mic?
Yes.
Hey,
Anyway,
I'm not
no.
recording with that
Not this time, no.
But you won't stop using it.
because it's dang comfortable. The other ones make my ears hurt.
Dude, I hated that thing. I hated that microphone so much.
All right, I'm not gonna let's do this. We're not gonna do this now. We want to put out a big thank you to everyone who played Wasteland with us last week. It was a lot of fun. We had like 10 guys join. 13. Okay. We had a really awesome time. We pretty much just cruised around finding vehicles and shooting stuff and dying a lot, and it was a really fun time. So I'll be putting a video up of that soon. But we plan on doing it again, I think, because it was a really cool time. Like, it was really fun just to mess around with you guys. So thank you for tagging along, and if you didn't last time, you should definitely do it next time. So does anyone have any parting shots before we go?
I want to see Joel lead a squad in the next Wasteland event.
I'd like to see
Like charging up a hill.
he should be in charge of one of the vehicles.
I know how this ends.
Hey, in real life, I am like slow as a turtle. I leave all my craziness to the online world.
That's true.
I
You
drive,
really are
I drive
slow.
really. I drive like I know where I'm going. Like I'm cool.
A grandma.
I drive
Your
like
grandma drives
hey,
her.
grandmother knows exactly where she's going.
I never got a
Sometimes.
speeding ticket in my BMW. Never once got a speeding ticket, and I got one in my Tercel within like the first year of having it.
Yeah, I have
feel
no
like an
speeding
idiot.
tickets or any kind of violations whatsoever.
I actually rode with Joel to Baltimore for a concert, and yeah.
Okay, guys, well, that's going to be everything for this week. If any more DayZ news comes out, we will be sure to talk about it on the next podcast. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. This is our first podcast with 5 people, and evidently that's a bad idea because Skype has kicked us out twice. So we'll have to work on it and figure out if there's something we need to be doing differently for next week. But yeah, thank you, everybody, and everyone out there. Have a great and awesome week, and thank you for listening. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you later.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Later.